On today's video, we're going to work on the third stage of Sidney Poitier's portrait made in charcoal pencils. And today, in this stage, we will focus on how to draw a nose in charcoal pencils and all the materials that I will detail for you. Hi everyone, my name is Julieta. I'm a self-taught portrait artist, and I'm here to show you how to draw a portrait according to the things that I have learned with my experience and all my years of drawing. This is stage number 3 of a total of 5 videos in order to build from beginning to end a realistic looking portrait in these materials. So I hope you enjoy. So as you can see, I'm always using my onion paper, or as you want to call it, like parchment paper. You can always use the one from the kitchen as well if you want to save on some money. And now I'm just taking my medium intensity charcoal pencil, and first I am creating the shadow that is in the inner corner of the eye. Remember, everything is kind of connected. There are no isolated elements when it comes to drawing a face. And now you just saw my little sandpaper where I scratched some of the thick charcoal stick that I have to create some charcoal powder, and that's what we're going to use with a pencil, with a dry brush, in order to create some shadow, like I'm doing right now on the bridge of the nose. When we do with the shadow, the whole purpose of shadow is creating depth. That's where you can see that the face dips and goes lower, and then the lighter parts are going to be the parts that are closer to you. So those are the effects we're trying to achieve here. So now you can see that I'm going down a little bit in all the areas that kind of do a depression. Now I'm going to the base of the nose. I'm putting a little bit more of charcoal powder right there. And we're going to go to the central lower tip of the nose, like so. And at this point, since you're just getting started with the nose, just look at it, just do it in a general way. Don't be too concerned about doing it perfectly. Just make sure you apply layers of shadow with the charcoal powder. It's always better to start with a little amount. Don't go crazy at first. You can actually see right there that I deposited a little bit more than I should have. We're going to get rid of that, but just a general rule is always better to start with little amounts. You can always add, but taking away is going to be a little more tricky, because you can take away from there without taking away from some other areas, and that's going to stick out. So, like I said before, all the areas are kind of together, work as a symphony, so it's always good to work on sides of the face as well, to kind of get a feel for the same type of shade of charcoal powder, not too dark, not too light. Now we keep going with the left side of his face. We keep applying a little bit more of powder to keep creating that feeling, that effect of depth. We're always aiming for a 3D effect. There we go, trying to apply a uniform layer, always starting with the light. And this that I'm doing right now, I'm just going all over from top to bottom, just so everything can still have that uniform look and feel to it. Not just too much in one area and not enough in the other. That's always another important aspect to take into account. Now I'm kind of measuring, I'm kind of seeing how the line is going. Always try to get, even though we don't have a line drawn, like a thick line drawn there, always try to measure with your hand and just see that things are aligned properly. Like in this case, his face is like tilted a little bit, it's looking towards the side. Always think about it as a straight line running through a face and making sure things are in place. Now we are applying a little bit more of concentrated dark charcoal, because the darker the charcoal is, that means that the deeper that area is. The more shadow you're going to have, the more depth you're going to have. So like I said, step number 1 was applying uniform layers of charcoal powder. Now we're going to start focusing on details. So we're carefully following the lines of the nostrils. This is probably one of the very few situations when you need to be conscious and aware of the reference picture and where certain things are. Because something like the nostrils, if you go through all the process of doing the super dark values for the nostrils itself and then they're misplaced, that's going to be a problem, yeah, because there is really no way to totally erase that. So these are the areas where you have to be more careful and more precise as far as where you place certain things on the face. Now we're also doing a lighter trace of that tip of the nose, that is the part that comes out further of the face. You can also see that it's darker than just general shading, but it's also not, but it's not as dark as the nostrils are, because we want things to look like they make sense. Now we're going to use a tortillion, one of my favorite tools. We are going to use it to smoke out some areas and make the shade smoother, make the transition smoother. It's a wonderful tool, I'm telling you guys. It's a super simple thing, just a rolled up absorbent paper, and it is just for anything that you want to do with charcoal pencils or pastel pencils, but especially for charcoal because it's so obvious, like the difference that it makes. It is just an essential tool. So you can see here, so what's the difference between a tortillion and just using a dry brush? With a dry brush, you just take care of broader areas. So you're usually going to start your work as far as shading goes with the brush. And then once you lay your foundation, you're probably going to go with tortillions for smaller and more specific areas, like I'm doing right now. So we're still working on the corners of his nose. And you can see little by little how it's starting to take shape. Now we're going to go back to the sandpaper and the dry brush. We're going to keep applying some charcoal powder. And a little trick like I just did now, if you're not sure how much charcoal powder you apply to your brush and you don't want to mess it up by applying too much, always place the brush on a place where you already have some charcoal powder, and that way it's not really going to be noticeable if it's too much. Just don't put it straight on a really light area, because that's when it's going to probably make a difference, and too much of a difference. And just shake off the excess as soon as you take the brush off the sandpaper. There I apply a little bit more, I charge it a little bit more, a little heavier, because we're going back to an area that is a little darker in value. And all these things that I'm doing, a lot of it is like common sense, like my knowledge already of how this works, and also through the reference picture. So make sure you always have that handy right next to you in order to follow the patterns and follow the lines. But always follow your instinct as well. Thank you so much for watching, guys. And don't forget to subscribe to my channel and give this video a big thumbs up if you enjoyed it, if you learned from it. And don't forget to leave your questions and comments down below. I would love to hear your feedback, and I hope to see you all in my next video. And don't forget to go to my website that is right here, and don't forget to check out my free tutorial on how to draw a portrait from beginning to end, and it's going to be really detailed and I am teaching you everything that I know that works for a realistic looking portrait. So thank you very much, and I will see you in my next video.